लग जाएगा, पैड है, अपनी इंटरनल मैगजीन है, पानी रखा हुआ है, खाली कि यहाँ पर हम लोग टी नहीं सर्व कर सकेंगे।
ठीक है, इसमें कोई ये नहीं।
That's why we kept tea on top because
हाँ हाँ।
Hello, hello. 1, 2.
Hi.
Hi. Oh, you
I'd seen your presentation, the
Yes,
last
we
when I
remember.
came to
at
at the hotel. Yeah.
Four Seasons. Yeah.
I hope you have got this year's handbook. Okay.
Just about got it.
Okay. So I will wait for your response.
Yours is a research material.
Yeah.
You can't just browse and put it away.
And this time we have got pretty good response from the market. Everybody is saying that this is the best edition.
So much effort, tremendous amount of effort goes into this.
Achha,
Would you believe
Ramkal,
roughly
this,
I do
put
around
this
85, 90 or 100 stories a
coffee
month?
table candles. I said that this coffee table candles we should put on.
Because for Times of India also where I am writing, it's Mumbai, Pune,
Candles,
Coimbatore,
this we
Ahmedabad,
should put on.
Vadodara, a whole lot of editions. So after a
Yeah, we should
certain
put
point, it becomes your habit. Now if you don't give me work, I will be restless.
All that I can say is compared to you guys, we make money more easily.
Because we are more into academic interest. I mean, honestly, when I started it, my vision was very clear. I will not do what other B2B magazines do. And in terms of mainstream media, I will not compete with them because I can't compete with them anyway. So I will supplement them. So somehow that philosophy, and that is one of the reasons that we are just having 2 publications a year. At any given point of time, we will not go beyond quarterly.
Don't bring it too cold.
We are all set.
All
Once you
set.
say okay, then the audio will go to audio is blocked now.
I think you can turn that nameplate.
Hello.
So that
Hello.
No, not that. This one.
Hello. Hello.
Voice is all.
You want to do some rehearsal before?
No, he will just introduce or.
No, I will start with this thing that everybody, I will ask everybody to introduce briefly because we are going live, so, and most of us have met for the first time. So briefly, company and what you do, and after that, Mr. Vakil will start a few questions on luxury, and then we will have an open forum. Anybody can ask questions from anybody. It will not be a straightforward question answer session. It will
But
be.
you will moderate, no? You will
Yeah, I will. I'm here. Mr. Vakil is here, so.
Let's create some controversy.
We try to do it
If
every
all
time.
of us agree with each other, there's no need for this meeting.
Yeah, that's what is happening in that business confidence index. Everybody was pro Modi. I was trying to pinpoint certain.
That's why he's asked you to moderate. Because he tried very hard to create a controversy. He couldn't.
Everybody is ready? Should we start?
sort of.
Yeah.
You're the only one from Omkar, or he's
John is our
John? Yeah, of course.
EPC head. He has also done the presentation.
Oh yeah, he was there.
You remember?
We are, I think, on the same table. Yeah, we met.
Ready?
Yeah.
Yeah, we are ready. Dinesh, open it. Okay, sir, let's go.
On behalf of Track to Realty, I welcome all the panelists. We will start with introducing ourselves. To start with me, I represent a company called Track to Media Research, where one of the venture is Track to Realty. Track to Realty is a real estate research analysis news portal. We are also into a specialized handbook publication, and then we have our feature service where we provide news stories to various newspapers and magazines. So that's it, and I would like now ask Mr. Bakil to introduce himself, and round the clock we will introduce ourselves briefly, and then we will start the discussion on luxury, its various challenges, all the facts. Mr. Bakil.
I'm Pranay Vakil. I eat, drink, breathe property. I've been doing it for now 2-3 decades. In 94, 95, I founded Knight Frank, got them to come into this country. And since then, we started off with 4 people, and today there are over 900. So I was the chairman of the company until about late 2012, when I decided to retire. I'm still connected with the industry, but at a macro level, and I only take up issues concerning the industry with the government and through certain forums. I've stopped doing broking. I've stopped charging people for fees, but yet be involved in the property. So that's what I am.
Amar?
Hi, I'm Amar Tendulkar. I head planning and design at Omkar Realtors and Developers. At this vertical luxury conference, I welcome all of you on behalf of Omkar, and just want to say that this is one of our most luxurious creations which I have headed, and you are sitting into one of these vertical luxuries.
Achyut?
This is Achyut Wadve, a partner of JW Consultants LLP. We are doing a lot of high-rises building, and now we are doing something in the range of 40-50 high-rise buildings, which is having say around 60-story, 70-story buildings.
Trivedi?
We are Navi Mumbai-based builders. I'm MD of Progressive Group and also President of Builder Association of Navi Mumbai.
Mr. Guest?
My name is John Guest. Similar to Mr. Vakil, I eat, breathe, drink construction. I have been following construction around the world for many years, and Mumbai and India certainly is one of the growing hubs for construction, so here we are. My role is head of EPC with Omkar. EPC is engineering, procurement and construction. Currently we have about 16 projects which are live, plus others that will be coming along soon. So I'm a very busy person. Thank you.
Jumur?
My name is Jumur Ghosh. I work with the Times of India. I am the National Features Editor for Real Estate. So that means that I'm the editor for a couple of TOI's real estate supplements. That includes Times Property. I'm assuming everybody knows about it. And I also oversee the real estate vertical for the company on a national level. So that's how I'm here.
I think before we move on to luxury discussion, since all of us eat, sleep and do everything with real estate, I think along with drinks we need a brick and mortar as snacks. So coming back to luxury. Luxury is a subject which is very overused and abused kind of a term. Anybody and everybody is selling luxury. So what actually defines luxury? Before we come to the challenges of luxury, let's get on with this. What actually defines luxury? To start with Mr. Vakil.
Well, going back about 15, 20 years, people used to come to me and say, hey, offer something which is luxurious. And that time I used to think of taking them to United Kingdom, to London, to those country homes. I used to kind of think of variety of things, including the #1 Hyde Park, done by Candy and Candy. And I used to kind of sometimes invite them to visit some of those sites. Because there was nothing in India that would compare with what was available about 15 years back in some of those countries. So to know what was luxury, we had to travel all the way, look at what the luxury, and then try and emulate. See how things have changed. Today, we are sitting here, and I'm sure the camera is kind of taking a 360-degree view of this, in the ultimate luxury that you can think of. It compares well with the best in the world, not only in terms of the way you see it, but the way it is constructed, the way it is located, the views, and all of that. So, if someone was to really lay down the criteria of what is luxury, right? I think this is luxury. We can then dissect this into a variety of parts and see whether it meets those criteria that we have in mind or not. There are a few things though, which we in India consider luxury, which probably in the developed countries, does not feature as luxury at all. To give you an example, in India, we normally have live-in servants. So normally a servant room would be provided as a part of the development, right? But what is luxury? The luxury does not stop as just providing the servant room. But do you have a separate servant accommodation for male and female? That really would determine luxury. Do you have provision where you can really keep your dog? Is it a society which would permit you to kind of have that and have a certain patch in the garden that's dedicated for dogs and cats? I mean, these are the things which are coming out as super luxury items. And I'm sure that as we go around, we will kind of get your thoughts, and because you are the people who have really created this, and you've changed the definition of luxury, the way people understood it 15 years back,
Yeah.
and the way they are understanding it now. More so coming from a person or a group that has specialized into slum redevelopment, slum rehousing, for them to create this luxury. Firstly, to understand that luxury and then to kind of create that luxury, I'm sure was a big challenge. So let's go around and see how people view luxury.
Amar, how do you view luxury from a planning and design perspective? See, it's much easier to create a building from marketing standpoint, which can be oversold in the name of luxury. But how do you look at it from planning and design perspective?
Before we really go to the planning and design perspective, what is very important is, as Mr. Vakil has very elaborately explained what is luxury. It's like providing which is going beyond the needs. That is called luxury. Luxury is something which is I will not say it's only felt by the senses, but it's going beyond it. It's like pampering your senses. It's not only doing the needful. You go beyond that. It's like, let's say this height. You see this height. This is 14 feet height. You see normal building. You stay in about 9.5 feet, 10 feet kind of an height. But when you go start elaborating beyond those kind of things, then it starts adding to the luxury. For a man to live in a good sizable living room, you will require maybe about 15 by 20 feet living room. But what you see over here, this is about 95 feet by about 18 feet, 20 feet kind of a living room. So this is what is the luxury quotient. Luxury quotient is bringing something which not only the money can buy, but how you can give that additional value of pampering the senses for that kind of a price. That is what is very important in the luxury. In the bathroom, probably you will require about 4 feet by about 8 feet kind of a space to have your en-suite facilities and the shower facilities. But when you provide in the bathroom a separate steam area, a separate jacuzzi, a separate bath, and again in the outdoor jacuzzi kind of a thing, where you not only take the relax your senses, but you see the stunning city view, so which is giving a kind of a luxury feeling to a person. So when you encompass all these things before you start actually planning or doing the designing of an apartment, and when this kind of things start flowing in your blood, then the design comes very smoothly, which gives that feeling of the luxury into the actual drawing.
Mr. Vatve, you also look luxury from a very holistic perspective, or?
Yeah. My first thing is, what do you mean by luxury? According to me, luxury is the state of mind. How you think of luxury. And one has to differentiate between necessity and luxury. anything plus than necessity is a luxury. Now, this luxury, one person is having a luxury and another person's necessity comes. You know, initially when we started this TV and all this computer and every era or mobile, at that first time mobile or TV and everything was luxury. Now it has become necessary. This growing luxury is a driving force for people to work, according to me. And now I don't know, this 8,000 square feet apartment may be necessity for some people and they will be looking forward for luxury. But this luxury doesn't stop at any level. It has to climb and it has to go up. That is my idea about luxury.
How do you look at it, Mr. Trivedi?
There is a sentence, you can have it all, Indra Nui. You have best of you, best of pace, best of elegance. Then you have people talking about your apartment in the society. It's all to do with your ego also. And then you have, you are also, standing apart in terms of, it's not a premium apartment, it's not a luxury, it's a super luxury, it's a, what do we say, designer apartment. So you have various stages in between luxuries also. And over and above all this, finally it comes down to a quantitative thing. If I were to put in a place like Mumbai, anything upwards of 12 crores or 13 crore, 14 crore is luxury, and if it's suburbs, anything upwards 7 crores should be a luxury apartment if I were to quantify it. And then you have all these parameters, you give some kind of weighted average, and to each one their own, they have a parameter which they would give maximum percentage and other things. So you can quantify it also in terms of budget and criteria also, in terms of view, accessibility to the latest malls and schools, colleges, security, and so many height, ceiling height, central AC, and gym, spa, jacuzzi, and then you can give some kind of weightage, and finally to each one their own.
Right, Devan, but let me.
Different balance sheet.
It's like ye
Yeah, let me
more.
Yeah, I think let me bring a different viewpoint to this. I don't agree with you that the price point determines luxury alone. Because the price for the same product in Mumbai, in Pune, in Ahmedabad, in Delhi, same product would be very, very different. What is available, like you say, 12 crores upwards in Mumbai, in Delhi might be 5 crores upwards. In Pune might be 4 crores upwards, 3 crores upwards, So therefore, in New Bombay, where you come from, and that's where you're developing, I'm sure that the luxury that we're talking about, I'm sure can be bought in 3.5 crores, right? So therefore, to peg it to a price point, would be a little bit misleading, and that's what I feel, Ravi.
Yeah,
But
price point.
from his perspective, he's saying staying in Mumbai itself is a luxury.
We will come back to the point of whether price point defines luxury. And Mr. John, you have seen luxury in many other countries as well. Do you ever feel that luxury housing in India is a concept that confuses you? Because anything and everything is being sold in the name of luxury.
Firstly, let me say that in the same vein, luxury is in the eye of the beholder, and it's going to change from person to person. One of the things that we do is we do a lot of slum rehabilitation, and therefore we provide relatively modest apartments to people who have very little. And when they walk in and see their apartment, believe me, this is the definition of luxury. The smile on the face and the joy of receiving this wonderful asset as part of the slum rehabilitation initiative from the government. So this is luxury for this person. Talking about super luxury, I think the only bit that I would add, I guess, is the famous location. And I think location is a very key part of luxury all around the world. So it might be you live in Monaco, or you live in the centre of Chelsea in London, or the better suburbs wherever. And In Mumbai, I think it's fair to say that Worli represents at least a good part of that luxury feeling. And then just probably being an Australian, we love to play, live, work outdoors. So to have a wonderful balcony as also part of your as part of your residence and your way of life. The indoor-outdoor concept, I also think, is a really added luxury that people are looking for nowadays.
Jumur, how do you look at it from media perspective? Because we are exposed to a number of press releases claiming to be luxury, from luxury to affordable luxury, and the only option we are left with to just throw it out in the dustbin. So how do you look at luxury?
I think as an editor, when I'm trying to determine for myself, irrespective of what the press release says, is, and this is linked with how I define luxury. So for me, luxury, it has to be something which is unique. There has to be an element of exclusivity to it. It has to make a statement. It could be about myself, my lifestyle, my company. So it has to be unique, it has to make a statement. Location is very important. So no matter what you tell me, so if your house is currently in Palghar, and I don't mean it in a derogatory sense to any project, if you tell me that it's a super luxury project in Palghar, I am going to have my reservations, because currently I know that location doesn't lend itself to that kind of an ambiance. For me, luxury is something that simplifies my life. It is something that makes me comfortable. So in a sense, I'm saying what you're saying about pampering the senses. So I'm looking at amenities. So if you're trying to pass off just a jacuzzi as a luxury commodity in the house, I'm not going to buy it. I think some of the best luxury projects that we've seen out in the country, it's the intricacy of the thought process. Some of the best projects, it's been thought of from the point of view that from the time I sit down till the time I'm opening my door, till the time I'm entertaining my guests, how do I simplify and how do I increase the comfort quotient? I think what the premium that we pay for, of course there is the design and the location, but I think when we talk about branded homes and all of that, we are paying for that expertise that somebody has thought about, has preempted my needs for comfort, and they have just given it to me on a ready platter. So that's how I view. So when I'm reading my press releases, I'm wetting it against all of these points. And
let me question one of what John and you said about location. Yes, all of us in the real estate business know location, location, location is the most important thing. How do you explain that on the same location you could have two buildings absolutely side by side with a similar view and commanding prices or offering luxuries which are very, very different? Okay, so therefore location is important. I'm not saying no. All right. At the same time, location is only one of the factors. You know, John, that's the way I feel. That it is important. I think it would be very high on the list of
The wish list.
Yes, but then we do have situations. I mean, take this building for example. This is a luxury building. But if you were to draw a half a kilometer radius from here, you will have another 4 projects which may not even command half the value that this is commanding.
I think it comes back to lifestyle, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Which is really what you're saying. It's
That's
about,
right.
it's
Like
about
Amar
how,
said, it's a state of mind.
and it's about how you live, state of mind.
And I think in a place like Bombay, space. Space.
Is it also about how the developer has positioned his project?
Most definitely. I mean,
Because I'll give you one specific example. I will not drop any names. I find one of the hoardings in a down market area saying so and so developer has launched a super luxury apartment worth 27 crores. It is by invitation only, but that hoarding is there in a down market location. Do you think the positioning by the developer plays a very significant role?
most definitely. I mean, there's a lot of thought goes into any development. from a design point of view, from an end user point of view, who your target market is. So there's a lot of ways in which to try to create a point of difference and to elevate your product. One of the sort of fairly common ways now is to link yourself with a very famous person, perhaps a celebrity or a sportsman, and then mentally, I guess, we're trying to connect with the success and the fame of that person by living in that same building or that same precinct, is one example. So I'm not saying that location is everything. I'm saying that it is an important part of the decision about what luxury is. Distance to work. There's many things that make your lifestyle more luxurious. If you're not driving for 2 hours a day and you're able to drive for 10 minutes to get to your work location, whatever. This is luxurious for some people.
I have a definition of luxury which I want to share with you, and it's open to discussion. In my view, I would decide on the luxury by just one single factor, and that is the gentry in the building. Who is your neighbor? I mean, you briefly touched upon the celebrities being given flats, sometimes at a huge discount, to get them involved in the project. But why are they doing it? Only for one reason. Because who else is in the building, which really determines luxury. Let me give you a few examples. There is a society at Walkeshwar called Hill Park. It's a 50-year-old building, 50. Each of the flat is serviced only by one lift, which is not even a stretcher lift. It's a normal 4x4 lift. And it's commanding one of the highest prices in the city of Bombay. Why? Because who else lives in Hill Park becomes the benchmark, right? And take Samudra Mahal, take Hill Park, and accordingly there are buildings in every city where who is a part of it. Now, yes, before that who decides to be there, he's looking at a number of factors. But if you want to blindly buy a luxury apartment, just ask one simple question to the developer friend, saying, who else has bought here? That will determine the luxury.
That's a key point.
That is one aspect, but according to me, you rightly said, one building and other building, one pays the premium, doesn't pay the premium, and location is important. Accordingly, location is also important, but location and address of that building, who has built it, how he has marketed it, who is staying along with them, and additionally, self-satisfying ego nowadays, because your other examples are age-old buildings where all neighbors or some old people are staying there and it has got some heritage value. But today I cannot bring a heritage value to the new apartment. So how I can upbring my luxury is by going above. Desire to go up to the club is more important. So luxury not only lies on neighborhood or anything, it lies in the height also. That is more important.
No, I have a fundamental question here. If luxury is all about height, then how come some luxury villa projects, which are not very vertically high kind of structures, they are also doing pretty well?
That's true, but it is getting amalgamated with other luxury styles like only villa apartment, having say 2-acre property and have a villa, he has got some lawn and everything. Other villa apartments we are having golf club attached to it. Some other luxury which is acceptable in the society.
Or you talk about a villa in the sky.
Another project now lately I am doing, I know it's in absolutely at the initial stage, but we will be selling 60 villas in the sky, having 300-meter tall building, and we are offering people 600 square feet cantilever projection to everybody, and lawn and everything he can construct or he can design his own villa. Obviously predetermined, but that things are going ahead. And person who is staying at second floor and person staying at 30th floor 30th floor will feel high premium, and that's more luxurious. Because
Amar, based on your experience with this project, would you agree that going vertical high is one of the major component of a luxury quotient?
Obviously, I mean, you will see the most of the who's who, and they would like to stay on the highest possible floor. I mean, if you will go to the richest person and if you will say, he will never accept to stay a floor below where somebody else is staying on the higher floor. So it's as is someone has said, it's satisfying the egos also. So luxury is one of that, where that person can bring in his own personality when he buys the flat, when can he satisfy his ego. And ultimately he is going to see whether that whatever the space that he is going to buy or whatever the space that he is going to create, is it going to satisfy all his egos? His egos are also kind of hidden in between, as I was saying earlier, in pampering his senses. Whether he is going to, and pampering his senses, pampering his probably wife also. So that is very important when you talk about children.
You didn't want to say girlfriend.
So pampering wife, pampering children, pampering even pets. So all those things. So if you have got all those kind of things, if he sees all those things are getting satisfied, then he starts thinking about, yes, this is going to offer me, what is the kind of, where I can spend my monies, So ultimately, because that person also is looking for a kind of a place where he can spend his monies, and spending those monies, to the things that I don't want to say exactly show off, but at least the kind of things which are very different than what others are doing in his class. That is going to bring in the kind of that he is using those luxuries kind of a feeling in his mind. So from that perspective, it is very important that one of the height is a very important factor, because if he says that I am staying at 600 feet high in the sky, he is comparing with many others, those they are not staying, having the equal wealth, but probably not staying at that kind of a height, and he wants to build that superiority feeling in his mind. So that is very important.
I'd like Mr. Vakil and Mr. Guest, because you've had exposure to real estate in various countries, right? So I'd like you to respond to this. I'm interested.
I don't agree with him.
Yes.
I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Yes, up to a certain level, it is fine. Let's talk about a building which is 60 stories. I would say anything above the 30th floor, you will have people asking for those flats. Now he doesn't care whether he's on the 31st floor or 40th floor or 45th floor or whatever it is, unless you feel that the top two floors are duplex penthouses, made very differently from the rest of the floors. Then it might be a different kind of thing. But let's assume for a moment that all 60 floors are the same kind of apartments in terms of size, the feel and specs and all that. Then beyond a certain level, where you begin to see the sky and enjoy the beauty, it does not really matter whether you're on the 30th floor, the 40th floor, 50th floor or the 60th floor. As a realtor, that's my feeling.
I agree with you. I mean, in the virtual terms, I agree with you. But when it comes about satisfying one's ego, you never know where his ego is lying. So from that perspective, if he wants to go on the higher floor, that's his.
You want to say that going vertically high along the floor, you also need to customize it a bit?
Sure, but I think getting back to the sort of the first question, luxury is in the eye of the individual beholder. So what works for one person may not work for another person. So there's always going to be a market for the luxury villa because that person values perhaps the lawn or whatever at a degree higher than another person. But I think it's fairly fair to say that worldwide people like to live in tall buildings, and they're being built all over the world. And growing up, you're talking about the Empire State Building and so on and so forth, which was built in the 30s as iconic, aspirational places to reside or work. And I think for whatever reason, the human psyche sees tall towers and super tall towers as aspirational places to be part of.
I think from a developer's point of view, the name of the game is only one, which is managing expectations. Right? You always find that when you meet those expectations, the guy is happy in terms of quality, in terms of timely delivery, in terms of size, in terms of how he's being treated and all of that. If his expectations are very high and the delivery does not come up to that level, that's when the problem starts. Now, Ravi just mentioned about those advertisements. What is it doing? It's giving rise to very high expectations of what luxury should be. And then when he finds that it's not meeting that criteria, he was expecting a chauffeur to take over his car the moment he drives into the driveway, yeah, and that does not happen. He feels that he's disappointed. Why? Because his expectations were pushed up to a level, which could not be met. So, coming back to John, what you said, it's about managing expectations. As long as the developer who's delivering the product promises something and delivers something which is 10% better than that, yes, you will have the customer delight, you will have the feeling of luxury, all of that. But if it falls short of even 5%, then he will feel that he is not all right, he's cheated or whatever it is.
To be honest, I'd say that the key is to better expectation. If you can set a level of expectation and then deliver better, that's where you start to develop reputation for your product, for your company, and the whole concept of luxury. So in tall buildings, there's many things that you have to do to achieve that. Vertical transportation is one of the keys. You cannot be waiting for a long time for elevators and things like this. So there's a lot of planning that goes into making certain that you meet or exceed expectation.
Only Mr. Vakil and John, I agree with what both of you have said, that when the developer delivers even 5% or 10% more than what is been promised, the customers get that delightful feeling or the feeling of luxury. But I feel that feeling of luxury goes, when the real feeling of luxury customer has to build, it even goes beyond that, because it's not only that one time kind of a feeling of that, what you say is the comfort or the, that luxury that he should, satisfaction that he should get, but there has to be a kind of a complete consistency when he starts using that product. And it's every day if he starts kind of finding out something which is new, and something which is giving him that some different experience every day. So that will give him the real feeling of luxury.
Having said this, first impression is the last impression. And so obviously when you do give possession to that guy, he walks into it, there is minimum amount of snag list that you have to kind of address.
Yeah, but it's like I'll tell you, when you say a book is a good book, when you open it even after 4 years, 5 years, and if you find something new, if you can say that, okay, I opened this book and I read, which has given kind of a new thought to me, then you start liking that book. So the luxury is similar to that. You start using your.
You mean to say look and feel is the first factor that attracts, and the rest can be a magnet.
That is the love at the first sight. Of course, that has to be there.
That may or may not last long. That is true for luxury also.
But the developer has to put in the efforts in such a way that even after the years after years, if you start even you use it, every time you use it, you should find something new. You should find something which is which will bring you happiness, which will bring you the comfort. Then that real feeling of the what you say is that it's like the old wine. So it's that way.
I think consistency is a very important word that he's used, because I'm not talking about super luxury projects, but I am talking about a lot of projects which are calling themselves luxury, and you walk into the sample flat and the inconsistency starts from there. So the flooring is looking plush, the door is looking grand, and then I try to open it and the fixture doesn't feel right. So the bathroom is looking grand, but when I try to use it, it just doesn't feel that grand. So I think consistency is a very essential part. And like we said, attention to detailing. I think consistency is proof.
I have a feeling that this mostly happens because developer lives under this impression that ultimately he has to demolish this structure. So why to spend that much?
About projects where even in the sample
No,
flat,
I mean,
they have
yeah,
flats.
you do have sample flats which are ready for delivery and which are not separately created, although what you're saying is right. A lot of developers separately create that luxury apartment. But I think having defined luxury to some extent, I think all of us. Let's move to the next level.
I have one thing to add.
Sure, Arjun.
Is, when we are talking about luxury apartment, there are two parts of it. First part is how others are feeling that you are staying in a most luxurious apartment. That's one thing. And as Amar has rightly said, how you are feeling that I am staying in a very luxurious apartment. These are the two major differences. If the feeling of you are staying in the most luxurious apartment, builder has won the race. If somebody else is thinking that is all location and all this, everything is there, you have to always feel that I am staying in the most luxurious apartment. What can be? And same thing, when I am looking out of my window, my wow factor has to be maintained. That's why I am again specifying the height. Because wow factor in summer, wow factor in winter, wow factor in monsoon, everywhere your landscape changes. And it changes first if you are staying in a ground floor. From your window you will see only one tree. But from here you are seeing almost changing environment.
No, what you say, and I would like to pick up from where Mr. Vakil started, and that will take our discussion forward to next stage. He said that when he started looking for luxury, he traveled across the world. More or less, that has not changed even today. Most of the developers into this space, they are traveling across the world, some of the best luxury markets, and they are then trying to replicate those successful projects. How far is that a reality? And to what extent that has worked in India?
See, from developer's perspective, if you are given a canvas in a particular, now I will compare it, for example, I am given Prabhadev, you are Worli. 4, 7, 6, 7 developers are given a canvas. First and foremost, he will look at his pocket. In terms of each one is given a similar size of plot. So how much he can take upwards in terms of construction, how much more he can invest, what is his withholding power. And then as a layman, as a lay businessman, my thing is I need to find out some gaps in the market which are not fulfilled. But when I find gaps, the other people will give me a premium. If I am making what others are already making, and then after finding a gap in the market, my next criteria will be what is a particular customer all about? What is it? Which criteria is going to give me that premium? And so first criteria would be size. Well, always, in a place like Mumbai or any of this New York or any of the London and all, his first thing is when he's getting a certain luxury, either height or either jacuzzi or some security service or XYZ, first thing is, do I need an extra bedroom, bigger living room, bigger kitchen? So if I am a customer, I would negotiate everything else to give me the biggest apartment. So instead of going for a high, I would as well go for 2 apartments on a 28th floor. That would be my criteria. Or a simple thing like a giant temple in a particular thing, or a vegetarian society can be the single most decision making criteria for me to have my. So it need not be a very high tech home. In fact, kitni baar we are having people higher means they have a phobia. Kalke ye ho gaya to, earthquake ho gaya to, and finally it's India. Everywhere is a jugaad thing. You have a lift fellow who is blackmailing you that if you don't pay so many lakhs for the AMC, I am not going to repair, and there is a standstill. What will happen? And then there are so many other things which are there in your mind, which only you know. You and me, I mean to say the customer. So from my perspective, if I find a gap, I find out a customer and give a weighted average. These are the 3 criteria I am looking forward to in my customer, and he is surely going to give me a premium for this. And if my assumption or my judgment about my so-called customer, what is it, which is not there, it's a virtual customer till I don't make a sale. And if he is giving me a premium as compared to 3 other developers, I won the race.
But coming back to what Ravi said, Devang, would you travel the world to know what luxury means to variety of people and try and emulate those ideas in your development in New Bombay?
Definitely.
You would do that?
In a place like New Bombay, where when I started my career in 98, we were making 3 to 5 lakh apartments. Today we are selling 7 crore apartments with 12 feet ceiling height, end-to-end windows, finished and everything, Italian flooring, all common areas. We are having landscaping ideas. I can't afford a Singapore-based this thing, but I can travel to Singapore and emulate it in this thing. We have Schindler level, we have all this super luxury grow and all that fittings. So when we come to a...
Why don't you spend a little more time and describe to us in 7 crores exactly what you deliver in terms of size, and what kind of a customer profile that you have, that you deal with?
See, if in a 7 crore apartment, roughly, we give 12 feet ceiling. You enter the...
What is the square footage we're talking about?
So we have, once you enter the project, you have a 3.5 bedroom or a 3 bedroom apartment. That's 2200 square feet. You have a carpet area of 1300. Then you have 200 square feet of flower beds and cupboards and all that thing. So roughly usable area is around 1600, 1700 square feet. That's the actual usable area. You have a ceiling height of 12 feet. Your Italian your entrance lobby is roughly about 4,000, 5,000 square feet carpet. Everything clad in Italian. You have Schindler lifts, about 2, 3 depending on the projects. And then every apartment in the building, we have seen a trend. People don't want to buy a single, they want to amalgamate the adjacent one. We have kept that because discounted in terms of safety factor. We didn't want to go all out at that point of time. And what we say, as far as RCC and other things are concerned, we follow the best practice. And finally, if I were to define who the customer is, a normal businessman. He is a person just below the CEO in any of these companies.
He buys a 7 crore flat?
Yes, and there are people who are upgrading also. There are people who is already having a flat, he has to fill in the gap. And then you have people like Nasruddin Shah, actor, or Sham Meligar. In future, just because we know them as celebrities, they buy it so that they can use it in their future. There are also businessmen who have the power of purchasing in South Bombay or anywhere in. But today things have become so localized. You don't have a rich guy staying only in South Bombay in some kind of an apartment, or you have in Pali. You have rich people staying in New Bombay, Thane, Malad, Borivali, Ghatkopar. You have this project there, 9 feet high. Buildings are all old, 35,000 rupees. Why? Because there is a community and there is a Jain temple there. So many other...
Actually, when people come to you, people like Devang come to you, what do they tell you? That I want the best product, I want the most expensive product, I want the most luxurious product. And how do you deal with that?
Unfortunately, you have to ask this question to it because I'm a structural.
We tell him that you don't have luxury to put additional 1 kg of the steel than what you bring.
Indian customer finally will make a value decision. 9 out of 10.
Yeah, but you are a customer as far as he's
Valued even when you are going for super luxury apartment.
Yes, he is looking at a value. He is quantifying his value. Okay, if I am giving so many floors, as well take another bedroom. Oh, if I am looking go to...
No, I have a question here.
Seaface, or I go to an older building, slightly 10-15 years old, but it has to be near my office. So many other criteria are there because of traffic, commutation, so many other criteria. Even if it can be your parents are staying somewhere and I have to make it, possible that I have to be in 10 minutes distance. It is not. Your school can be once.
No, that won't define luxury.
But no, what I am trying to say is luxury. There is specific criteria which everyone is looking.
No, if I ask you plain and simple, luxury is more about aspiration or cost and benefit analysis. These are two different things.
Can I answer
Yeah.
this? I will answer it in a little different way. One of my when in my consultancy, I had the opportunity to work with the richest family in India. And Bhabhi, the Bhabhi was carrying Louis Vuitton bag one day, and family was sitting, and brother-in-law said, "Bhabhi ji, ये तो Louis Vuitton का बैग आपने कहाँ से लिया? आप लंदन गई थी, इटली गई, वहाँ से लिया?" बोली, "नहीं यार, ये तो fake है. This is a fake bag. I have just taken it. I am just carrying it." So that person answered very interesting. He said कि भाभी आप कैरी करोगी तो फेक भी ओरिजिनल, आपको कौन बोलेगा ये फेक है करके? हम ओरिजिनल भी कैरी करेंगे तो भी लोग बोलेंगे देख सारा फेक करके घूमता है. So it's very important. So you have to,
in Hong Kong you get genuine fakes.
No, so what I'm trying to, first copy. So what I'm trying to say is, firstly you have to elevate to such a level that you give in amenities, you give in facilities when you talk about luxuries to that level that even after certain amount of the facilities and amenities you give, after that you start kind of giving some value for money kind of a product also, people will not dare to say that you are compromised on the luxury. So that confidence when you start building in people, in your customers, that whatever Omkar will give or whatever the developer will give is the kind of giving that value or giving that added kind of a benefit to the customer. Nobody will say that, okay, you are compromised on certain things. So building that confidence at the first place is very important to kind of bring in the confidence in a customer's person. So that is very important. That's what I want to say.
But to get back to your point, I think that there's no doubt that developers worldwide travel, experience different cultures, different buildings, different luxuries, and then they bring elements of that luxury experience back to their own development. And there's going to be differences country to country. One difference that I could point out about lifestyle in India is that it's very common to have 3 generations living in one house. Very common. Whereas it wouldn't be so common in many Western cities. So you're not copying, what I'm saying is you're not copying the luxury from another country. You're taking the experience and then placing it in a context that values it better, and that creates luxury for that country or that position.
Yeah, sometimes it may not be carrying that luxury brand, but if you can provide all those luxury things which are associated with that brand without paying that premium of that brand, still it's a luxury. So initially probably you may require that brand, but after that what is very important is to give all those aspects of that brand, and give value out of it.
So when I interviewed Donald Trump Jr. around 6 years back, and we were talking about the plans to come to India, nothing has been finalized then. And he said that, Jumhur, I have to admit that right now people in India are speaking about ultra luxury, but there is no ultra luxury project in the country. A. B. There is no awareness, there is no real concept of what ultra luxury is supposed to be. This was 6 years back. What do you think of the statement?
Yeah, actually the same thing I was trying to say. Yeah. I was trying to say that if you know what is ultra luxury, and if you give that ultra luxury, whether it's important to associate with that brand Trump, even if you don't associate with that brand Trump, and if you can give that customer confidence or the kind of a confidence to the client that you are providing all that which is present and even beyond that which is in the Trump Towers, is it important to give that brand just for the marketing purpose?
Okay, so you would say ultra luxury has now arrived in the Indian context.
This is what is the confidence that we want to give to our customers. That's why we are showing all these things what we are doing.
Basically, when anybody is using ultra luxury or luxury or any segment, basically anything what Mr. Devang has said, this is necessity, giant table necessity, all this, low window, all everything is necessity. Anything beyond that plus, what Trump can give me, that is the necessity. But I have my own reservation in my mind. Amar is the architect. He is asking me how to live. Somebody is guiding me how to live. How I can approach to the luxury which I don't know. And that is what he is going to teach me. How I live my life. More luxurious. I have money. In India, a lot of people have money, but they don't know what is luxury. And now what by doing this kind of flat, now people are getting exposed to those kind of luxuries.
I would say people don't value luxury. If you have a Gujarati person, Marwari person, Sindhi person and a Punjabi person, each one को define करने को बोलो what is luxury, you will see a gross. One will say, oh, I want ROI. One will say, I want biggest of area.
Right. But Devang, I would go.
One will say,
Right.
give them each same budget, but they will buy for different.
I would agree with you, but I would take it one step forward. What developers think is luxury may not be the luxury that the client or the buyer thinks. Because, you know, there is that kind of, the developer wants to really create in consultation with the architects and designers and everybody else, what he thinks is luxury.
Here I have one point, here rightly mentioned, everybody has got different requirement of luxury. What he is looking at is, after having a 8,000 square feet of flat, and one gentleman sees there is a duct, which is 12 feet by 12 feet, which I can enclose unofficially. That is his luxury. I don't know.
That's value for money.
I don't know. That is his luxury.
Yeah.
So,
Or he creates some secret room for the girlfriend.
Another thing is, when I have nothing to say, this is where I stand apart from my competitors, I will try to make something just to make a buzz. Well, first thing media will say, आपके project में खास क्या है? So then I have to think, okay, vis-a-vis I have a squash, which I actually.
Any stretch of imagination.
Because media is asking me to stand apart.
By any stretch of imagination, will a developer ever think that his luxury quotient is not being appreciated just because of media?
No. See, what I am and what I communicate is also a different thing. I have to stand out in terms of goals of other people, and then I have to stand in terms of, okay, now what is the USP of your project? So I know everybody is giving this, blah, blah, blah. So I will say three other things which may not be value, but at least I have a new space.
No, Mr. Trivedi, this is where developers go wrong. See, the problem is 9 out of 10 such amenities that you describe. Media also understands from buyer's perspective that these are just marketing gimmicks. I touched upon a subject called positioning by the developers. I think in luxury segment, one of the fundamental reasons that very many players have not succeeded is that they have not positioned themselves in the right context. So it's not about, ultimately it's a game of perception. For me, it's about perception and managing expectations. So when you want to create a perception out of a marketing gimmick, then for me that is not luxury. Mr. Vakil, what do you think?
One example I can cite to support what he's saying is the latest concept of luxury in Mumbai is that this is according to the old DC regulation. Okay. I mean, there has been luxury because you can't really afford to give balconies of this size unless your project was approved under the old DC regulations, where some of these areas came to you outside the calculation, and therefore you could offer that luxury, which in a brand new building, which has been approved after the new DC development regulations have come in, would be very, very different. So, you are trying to create that uniqueness by saying this is as per the old DCR. Am I right?
Yes.
From developer's perspective, I'll be honest. Although I'm giving it's kind of it's not supposed to be coming out from the developer. But most of the time, given the plot and given the FSI constraints and other things, first thing you will talk to the architect, how many square feet I am getting out of this particular project. So that makes my land cost.
Yeah.
And then I work backwards. And if I have an apartment, a floor, so I can sell common space, this, that. Everything is free for all. Because that particular person is going to encroach upon everything available there. And everybody in the building is going to do the same. Now I will start my marketing. 1 floor per apartment, lift going into your house. But actually, architect ke hisab se, this is the best plan, which was going to now I'm positioning, then I will segment it. But that is, I'm not working with other way around that, this is my customer, this is the positioning I want, then I want segmentation and super segmentation, then the niche, and then the final customer. I have already made my plan. Now I am finding the customer. Then then it comes to brand positioning. Okay, entry by invitation only. यहाँ पे full page का ad दे रहे हैं हम लोग Times of India के अंदर 50 lakhs का. Customer is, there are certain customer willing to come but is stopped outside there. आपको invitation दिया था. Were you given invitation for this project and say, no, I am not, then you call our sales office, then you fix an appointment, then by that time we find somebody else and whatever, blah, 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 blah. So, even how to reach to your prospective customers, firstly that segment exists or not, that also I don't know. If I am making a 8,000, I am getting a super sellable portion in a particular project. I am working backwards. I don't know whether that segment itself exists. Because when I multiply it by the rate of that particular area, it could be 50 crore rupees or 80 crore. Like you have something in South Bombay, 100 crore apartment, he maximizes everything. Now after maximization, the flat becomes so big, there is no buyer for that. In 7 years it is lying vacant for because there is no buyer. So certain time when you are working backwards, your asset is made, but now you will find.
True.
You will work backwards to find that particular customer and then brainwash him in such a way that you are the customer, you are the most exclusive one, you are the kind of the smartest dude, who's going to have this, and you have been called by invitation, our research team has done.
That's marketing. Yeah.
Then that's a marketing part.
But let's go to John and ask him, how do you create luxury? When the developer that you're working with tells you, I want to create luxury, and you put your thinking cap on, what are the elements which go into creating luxury from the construction development point of view?
From a construction point of view, I think that the key aspects are always time, value for money, deliver the project on time, create value for money with the construction, and very high quality construction, so that in ultra tall towers, even the building swaying a little bit is not acceptable in a luxury product. So you want to create a very stable platform for your island in the sky. But for a developer to create luxury, I think it's everything. And we're talking about, do you get ideas from overseas and things like that? Of course you do. You get ideas to create luxury everywhere. And you're saying, Mr. Trump was saying that people don't have an idea of luxury in India 6 years ago. I think it's quite common that people don't necessarily have an idea of luxury anywhere in the world. If you're a busy businessman, you're not thinking about luxury, you're thinking about your job and earning money. And what you'll do is you will go to someone to help you create that feeling of luxury. Maybe an interior designer, and maybe a very famous architect or whatever. So I think it's quite common and it's logical that we are all led along this path of super luxury. So I always think about with ladies, handbags. A handbag does the job, which is getting back to doing what's fit for purpose.
You're talking like a marketing person.
Is that luxurious? No, it's not luxurious.
My question to you, as somebody who really creates construction,
yes.
I mean, to what extent you pay attention to the structural part
everything,
of it?
everything.
All right. The quality of construction.
Quality of construction.
How to maximize carpet area, by putting gates on the side, or
if you go to sort of just very simple sort of processes, I suppose, for me, luxury is having a big space with no columns. So our first brief to the structural engineer is centre core, column on the outside, and the column's got to be as thin and small as possible to maximise our view. So luxury, and that means that your slab might cost you more money because the span is longer. But this is luxury. Luxury, then the ceiling height. So it's every part of the planning of the building creates the luxury environment, which you then fit out. So I think a lot of people look at the end product as luxury, whereas if you're a construction guy like myself, it starts with the pouring of the first piece of concrete. you know, and quality control that's put in place behind that, and making certain that the build quality is the best. And that's certainly what we're achieving in India. And people who think it can't be done in India are completely wrong nowadays. We use world's best systems, world's best technologies. We're now building 7-day floor cycles, which is achievable elsewhere in the world. So all of those things are now
Do you have
here in India.
conflicts between making it environmental friendly and delivering luxury? For example, use of wood.
Conflict is, I don't think it's the right word. I think it's all about price point. If you want to do a platinum rated building, despite what a lot of people tell you, it will cost you some money.
To your boss what he wants.
Then that's a decision for the developer to make, and it's a bit more of a it's price point as well as aspirational.
How about the design part of it? How do you get luxury built into the design? He builds it into the construction, you build it into a design, right?
See, for us, as his exercise starts from pouring the first pour of the concrete, our exercise starts from, probably starts from actually this, what you call is the smelling the plot. So, when there are 7-8 plots in the same vicinity given, which is the right plot, which can take the luxury product. From there, the exercise for the architect starts. Then we do a lot of feasibility studies in terms of which plot can take what and what not. We get done some market studies from where we understand who will be the kind of buyers, who is our customer segment, and what are the needs of the customer segment from various companies and from the intuitions of the developer. Ultimately, developer is who is the developer? Developer is the one who can exploit the maximum potential out of that piece of the land. And how someone can exploit the maximum potential of from that land is, let's say if the rate is, let's say 10,000 rupees per square feet, and if you have to get that from 10,000, if you have to bring it to, let's say 12,000 or 14,000, you have to give that extra bit to a customer, that which customers will appreciate and recognize it as a kind of a value add or a luxury kind of a thing. So once we understand what is the kind of a customer segment in which bracket that customer falls, we start the target group. Target. Yeah, target, and then there is something which is called even aspirational also. Okay. So from that perspective, as you were asking earlier, we go world over and we see for that kind of a bracket world over what are the kind of things which are provided, how we can make it workable in India, or what the Indian customers or our customers will value more. And we try to bring in all those kind of thing in our kind of a design. Now particularly, let's say when we talk about this 1973, our project, I'll tell you one simple example in the design process. We went to one Hyde Park, we saw the plans and we saw their sales pavilion and all those things. After seeing all those things, I told Babulalji, I said, so don't worry, we'll do much better job than that. So there is one kind of a confidence, but leave apart from that. What we felt is that after seeing all those things, yes, there is a luxury, but luxury is there, not to criticize, but the luxury was by putting in all the kind of costly elements, but in a kind of just a kind of as a series of events. When you write a poetry, it's not just the kind of just a series of lines, but there has to be some kind of a rhythm into it. There has to be some kind of a flow into it. So design is all about the rhythm. Design is all about the flow. How you can depict your lifestyle, in the right way when you start putting the things in the order. So when we started designing this 1973 project, we said that yes, the view is important, but what we can't have is a simple corridor and a room. This is not acceptable in the kind of Indian way of living. So we studied Indian architecture, we studied the courtyard housing, we studied how the Indian, historically how the Indians have been living. We studied the palaces and all, and we found very important thing is that all the big villas, big houses, they had the kind of a courtyard. So courtyard is a kind of a place where you get that garden also. All rooms look into the courtyard also. So you see the kind of a garden, but you get that privacy also. So we tried to bring in that, and it becomes a kind of a social place in the entire house where people can come together, they can celebrate their, family functions and chit chat, sit and around and all, and kids are also protected in that. So what we thought is, why not to bring that kind of an idea, into the modern Indian living. So in this apartment, what we thought is that, no, we don't have that kind of a luxury of building all these about 400 apartment on the ground. But then how we can bring this in this luxury, how we can give this luxury to all these 400 apartments which are going about 900 feet, 1000 feet above in the sky. So we developed the plan in such a way that when the person enters, what he sees is a garden, and then every room is flanked with a garden. Okay, so that everywhere you get that feeling that you are sitting in a kind of a nice garden apartment. So that is the kind of a luxury, after we understanding the Indian mindset, Indian community living, Indian social living. So after that we depicted all these things into an apartment, which is the kind of a one of a kind of a luxury. I'm just giving you an example apart from many other things which you have built. So this is the kind of a process.
But can you list out, say, the top 5 things which has influenced you in designing a luxury apartment?
In the tangible terms, if you are asking me?
Yeah, as a designer, as a planner.
It can be something aesthetic which is not tangible, that also.
I always give an example. It's like if you imagine Rashtrapati Bhavan. Rashtrapati Bhavan is so beautiful. It's not only by the means of its building on its own, but it's because of the Mughal gardens also around. So its luxury is not only because of the built spaces, but it's because of the unbuilt spaces also. So here, like you see this apartment, it is luxurious not because of this enclosed hall, but because of it has got this flanked by this kind of a nice.
That's a very good marketing statement.
That is if DCR future permits that.
Old DCR.
No, I don't think so. With the new DCR, somebody will give this luxury.
That's right. So it becomes a selling point.
Tell me, and I hear this from architects a lot because I asked this question in a different context when I was talking about why doesn't Mumbai have enough of its share of iconic structures. It is a mega city today, and the one thing that we're always told is, of course, the new DC rules and just the FSI constraints, and from a creative designing point of view, this city is very limiting. So you're an architect, you're from the design part of it. Would you agree with that? It carries its own set of challenges?
I'll tell you, if you'll go back in 1930s or even before that, I mean, this city was famous for the iconic structure. You see the Chhatrapati Shivaji terminus or VT station or the Mumbai Municipal Corporation building. All those are these are the kind of an examples of the iconic structures, and that continued till that Air India building and all those kind of Taj, Air India and all those kind of things. So it is not correct to say that this city was kind of not having the iconic structures. This city had. Yeah, so I am coming to that. So I am saying that it's easy to criticize that the DCR will not permit. That time also there were certain development control regulations and all those things. But I mean, still the creative people and the people, those they have got certain vision, they were able to kind of work around and create the iconic structures. We had the set of the old development control regulations in which there were certain allowances which were kind of given to build in certain kind of balconies and all those kind of things. But I am having said that, in the new development control regulations also, yes, there is not so much of the allowance to bring in the balconies and all those things, which is limiting the extent of the iconism that one can build, or the extent of the luxuries which can be provided. But yes, I mean, if there are buyers and if there is enough money to be poured in, as a developer, yes, we are still willing to do those kind of projects,
I'm more confident than Amar. I think within a few years, architects will find a way.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I always think I'm a bit of a car nut, when you look at, say, Formula One, and they change the rules and they say it's going to slow everything down. Within 3 years, they're going faster somehow.
I differ with him on one aspect. Yes, I do agree with your statement, or somebody is saying so. I am 100% with him, because new DCR rules are whatever things are coming on us, you must have forgotten by now, but things are coming to us, you know, all the architects get the feeling when there is a wow factor. And normally that wow factor comes out of cantilever. Anything which is not having a support on Mother Earth, and the extent of a cantilever gives you that wow factor, or something like the iconic. Why high rise which is cantilever from Mother Earth? Why horizontal cantilever? Because it doesn't have a support. So this new TCR rule, they are saying maximum cantilever you can build is 2 meters. High rise committee doesn't allow me to get the cantilever more than 2 meters. It's ridiculous. You know, they are saying that in earthquake and all the thing, it is not correct.
Counted in FSI.
Forget about it.
No, forget about FSI. He is saying that.
I am saying maximum allowable cantilever from main column is maximum 2 meters. That's
Which is wrong, which should not be.
Wrong or right, I don't know. Which is, they are saying that under the pretext of earthquake.
Yeah.
In California, we can say 10 meter cantilever, 15 meter cantilever. Why in India 2 meter? Where consultants are not able to design that cantilever, nothing, it doesn't make one.
Do you see it as a challenge that the government tells you that you create luxury
With 2 meter cantilever.
with 2 meter cantilever, and that's the challenge.
By the way, government will always ask you to do something affordable.
Is that the creativity is getting marred by this kind of.
I understand.
You know, now because of some other rules, I don't want to specify those rules, there is a limitation on a glass facade,
Yeah.
on overall running length. You cannot have more than 40%.
Oh yes.
Basically, you cannot have boxing, you cannot have cantilever projections, you can have old Mahara type patti chhajjas, maximum up to 1.2, no upward or downward projections. So what you are left
No
with?
water bodies,
No water bodies.
because water bodies are not passed.
And
by
water bodies
BMC.
are passed, then you have to pay the premium for mosquito relief.
Right.
That's no problem. So everywhere you are holding my hands, not my hand, I am happy.
You're
I
tying
don't
your
have to
hands.
Design large cantilever, but you know, if you are holding everybody's hand behind and asking them to fight in international market, and you want iconic structure, how iconic structure can be?
That's a very valid point.
Another issue is basically, if you take a case of Shanghai Tower, which is being a 600 plus meter tall building, if you go inside the Shanghai Tower, it's a plain circular building, and what you see is outside is jetting out up to 12 meter cantilever, only a skin. I don't think is it possible in Bombay, because that 12 meter will come into the FSI.
Yeah.
Because you cannot have anything by connecting the exterior periphery or exterior beam civil, because if you make that, you will come into the FSI.
Correct. Then it's no longer cantilever anyways.
Because we are responsible for it, because moment I put a beam, after some days I am putting my slab also and start using it. Yes, we are the culprit. Pendulum has gone to this extent by misusing the area. Now pendulum has gone to the other extent.
Right.
But it's not justifiable. It should be kept in
Correct.
center.
But-
Why it should go away?
But I think the challenge is to deliver luxury within those constraints which we have.
And one of the points which Mr. Trivedi pointed out, that I plan something and then buyer wants something different. I would like to ask Amar, don't you think in this luxury segment, customization of an apartment is a very important component?
It's a very important.
You will get the kind of buyers who will ask you to customize the entire floor for you.
Yes. We are having a flat slab, only central core and exterior periphery, and you have to respect only toilet ducts. The rest everything is your plot.
That's what John was also saying, that when we.
And you can
the
construct
colours,
all anywhere.
wait all on the
It's a
side.
flat slab. You
In
can
this-
construct
in this-
the way you want.
Top structure.
In this project,
This is
we,
like a really huge trend now.
Yeah.
In
I'll tell you one example. Now we have got.
Highlights.
We also have to understand most of the high-end apartments.
We have got, I'll tell you, we have got 20,000 square feet apartment, and somebody is just building 4 rooms into that, and rest of the things as a garden. So this is the level of the customization which can come into this kind of project. Yeah, for us, yeah.
I must give you an example of an apartment overlooking the Lords garden
Yes.
at London, and this 12,000 square feet apartment consisting of only 2 bedrooms. Exactly what you said. Why? Because this was constructed for a playboy from Russia who didn't need all those bedrooms. He clearly liked parties.
So I'll tell you one example. About 15 years back, I have done a bungalow in Juhu, where I have designed a bathroom which was almost about 40 feet by 16 feet, facing the Worli sea face, and the living room was almost half of its size.
Oh, is that?
So he said, I stay half the year I stay in Russia. Whenever I come here, I use living room only for some time, but I use maximum time. 4 hours I spend, he says, I spend in the bathroom. So I know what my timings are.
That's luxury for you.
Master bedroom with attached toilet.
It was a bathroom, jacuzzi, gymnasium, everything inside
True.
that, and the kind of a small beach kind of a feeling on the edge, the glass edge.
Oh, yes.
So it's a luxury.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we shift gears, and
Yeah.
I'd like to come to you on marketing. We talked about construction, we talked about the definition of luxury. Let's shift gears and come into marketing. You deal with a lot of people
Yeah.
as a journalist. All of them are trying to market their product. Market their product, and as like Ravi said, as a luxury product, whether it's luxury or not. First of all, as a person receiving those proposals, how do you deal with it? And then we'll try and define the marketing strategy that one should adopt for a real luxury product.
I think I again look for consistency. So what is the message that you're sending out? What is it that you are promising me in the press release? What is it that you're promising the customer? And what is it that you are providing? So I'll give you an example. I have been to luxury projects. I'm walking through the sample flat, and they have these really good looking executives, really well turned out, and I'm thinking, okay, they are on the right note. And then you just ask them a couple of questions which are, I wouldn't say they are technical in any way. Yeah, I think they're just a little above common sense. So I'm a journalist, so I'm a little above common sense. And I'm amazed that they have absolutely no clue. So my point is, you are trying to get me or the prospective buyer to shell out 10 crores, 12 crores, 15 crores, whatever, and you are not able to field such simple elementary questions. So I'm looking at consistency. And it's not just in real estate. I like that about my movies, restaurants, whatever. My point is, nobody is forcing you to give out a message. You are giving out the message, you are giving out your branding mantra of your own volition. So be truthful to that and be consistent to that. So I think what you were talking about, just not over-promising, and yet, you deliver more than what is expected.
Over-deliver.
So that is strangely very rare, even now in the luxury segment. I seldom see that. The other thing I find
So you're selling dreams, you're not selling what you're going to deliver.
absolutely.
Is that what you're
No, I
saying?
have a very disconnect with this term selling itself. Anything that you need to sell, push for sell, cannot be a luxury. That's what I feel about luxury projects.
Yeah.
So you would expect a client to walk up to a developer and say, hey, do you have a penthouse in this building? It's a really luxurious.
People see do.
I would say if you have created an iconic luxurious project, then your project should be a magnet, because you have not made something which is for everybody. If you communicate it right, if your communication is true and reaching to the right audience, then your project has to be a magnet. And this is where the concept also is changing. Earlier people were having sales office in luxury project. Now, like you have done, you are creating experience center, because you have also realized in the process that you cannot hard sell luxury. Problem in this market is that most of the people who are selling luxury, they are trying to oversell. They are trying to typically that, okay, this is a buyer, I have to beg, borrow or steal him as a prospective customer. This is where most of the luxury projects have come
What
from.
we are saying is, come, believe it yourself, and then you decide.
That's how it should be. So when you say selling, so the very I have a disconnect with this term sell itself, because as I mentioned earlier, I am finding some of the developers selling an apartment above 25 crores with hoardings spread across even down market locations, and they are expecting that the buyer is fool enough to pump his money just because his project is at a very good location which is close to, say, DLF Cyber City, so everybody will come to him. So this is where the whole luxury disconnect comes.
So that is where I feel that...
No, so I think the question really for you is, how do you position
Yes.
a product, which you think is luxury, and which you would like the client to believe it to be a luxury? How are you going to position that? Is it branding?
It is. It is.
What is it? So you might like to elaborate.
I think with any luxury brand, it is because, so, we talk about, so you were talking about Louis Vuitton earlier, right? So I'm not sure how much he even knows about Louis Vuitton. I'm not sure if he even needs to research the history and how old that company is and the pedigree and whatever. But there is a perception that this is Louis Vuitton. There is a certain quality, there is a certain snob value attached to its products, and I would like to purchase it. And because of those perceptions, he thinks that it is well worth the price. In housing currently, of course, I mean, it's a different ticket size, right? So you can't, but Mr. Vakil, I have come across buyers, maybe not for the primary residence, but I have come across buyers who have such faith in certain developers that the minute the developer has announced a luxury project or whatever, they are confident, almost 80%, that they're going to buy the product. Because
As investors.
As investors.
Not as actual users.
Not as actual users, but I think for the industry where we are still talking about, how we're still in the learning stage as far as branding is concerned. It's a relatively new term still in the market and in the sector. I think if you have buyers like that, it also means that the industry on some level is doing something right vis-a-vis its branding. So I think even for luxury, the brand value, and that's what you spoke about, right? If you can create that brand value, that this developer understands luxury, he understands the finer nuances. If you can just let your buyer know that.
Has a track record.
Yeah, I think that is half the battle won. Because like you said, you cannot sell luxury which comes with this.
I am finding, see, luxury also is subject to creating a destination address. How can you justify one developer launching 3 super luxury apartments within the same catchment area and hard selling all those 3 as iconic destination addresses?
So I think the minute you're hard selling, for me,
It's not luxury.
it's not luxury. So
I don't think Rolls Royce has ever gone to anybody to invite them to buy
question their faith in their own.
In their own product.
Actually, what Jumur was saying was a little different to my mind. When you're talking about repeat buyers coming to you, to a dependable developer, he's not coming there for luxury. He's coming there because he trusts you as a developer. That you will deliver. That you will deliver what you have promised. And therefore, he keeps coming back to you as an investor. But I think to judge luxury or the definition of luxury from the point of view of an investor would not be correct to my mind. I think if you want to really decipher, understand, interpret luxury, go to the actual buyer, actual user. Because he's going to live there. And he's going to ask you 10 questions. He's going to ask you which way the wind is blowing. He's going to ask you, is it Vastu friendly? He's going to ask you a lot of things.
Correct.
Which an investor will never ask you. Right? All that he is doing is, hum itna paisa lagate hain, by the time the building gets its first coat of paint, what will I get back? He's not thinking of luxury. Maybe his buyer will think of luxury. That's a different thing. So, coming back to marketing. how would you position a top-rate luxury product? Would you advertise or would you not advertise? Would you give a press report, leak out something? Would you do it by invitation? Would you then say that, look, I've created something very, very unique and therefore I've tied up with Candy and Candy or this and whatever it is, our money? Or would you just say that, look, let me sell to the 5 guys who really matter the most in the city of Bombay? Example, Deepak Parekh, whatever. Okay. If somebody decides to use it as a personal residence, today, Imperial Town, you know, the values have shot up because of one reason. The Deepak decided to move there 1 year back. Okay. Now, I shouldn't be quoted on this, but it is a fact. If Deepak can trust Shapoorji Pallonji, everybody can trust. And if he thinks it's luxury, if he thinks it's high market, I think everybody would begin to feel that way. For 2 reasons. Not only that he is very, very well known, but he's also from the real estate industry. So 2 things put together. So, coming back to marketing.
I think for an ultra luxury project, too much of advertising, it does look tacky. It looks like
it's counterproductive.
Yeah, it is counterproductive. It looks like you're trying too hard to be noticed. Too much of press activity, it's the same counterpart. It again looks like you are trying too hard to be picked up by the media. I have seen some really top-notch luxury developers who are very selective about their advertising, who are very selective about their media engagement, and their flats get picked up like this. So I think they do exactly what you said. They just get 2-3 key buyers. They position that news in very, very select media vehicles because they're very clear about who their TG is and they don't want to deviate even 1% to a media vehicle that is not utterly revered by that TG. They're very specific about it. I think subtlety. I think subtlety really works in the ultra luxury space, and that's across products, be it bags, clothes, homes. For me, the true mark.
But Jumur, if you are creating 20 flats,
yes,
and you decide not to advertise,
yeah,
probably word of mouth will work.
yeah.
What happens when you are creating 100 flats?
Do you think if you're creating 100 flats, I mean, I want to know, would I even call it ultra luxury?
How many flats do we have here?
400.
400 flats.
Okay.
And it's all luxury?
Okay. So, but then where is...
So,
okay.
how is the word of mouth? It may work, but it's too slow a process.
No, not just word of mouth. I'm saying you have to be selective. You can't be overdoing it. So like Devang and I were discussing, if you have an advertisement in every supplement, every second day, it can be counterproductive.
I tell you from other side of media perspective where things go wrong. I know one developer who launches a super luxury apartment. Media is bombarded. All English, Hindi newspapers having cover jacket. So I try to get into the details of it because I am not ready to believe this is for the buyers. Within 6 months, that developer is launching another super luxury apartment in the same catchment area. Because that all media bombardment was meant for investors. Within say 18 months, he has launched 3. And after that, all the media activities are stopped. What does it tell you? It tells you that his entire positioning was meant for investors. Somewhere he may or may not have made money, but his brand equity as a luxury player has gone for a toss forever.
True. I think a real luxury developer would take one project at a time, do an excellent job of it, sell it to very select people, create the brand value, and then go to the second one. I know of a developer in Pune, for example, who by now has that reputation, that he will take on only one project at a time, do an excellent job of it, and then move to the next one. and people who buy there, are all actual users. They trust him with the best quality, and that's how the whole thing works out. Can we again shift gears, if you guys agree? To what extent, John, is technology important to creating luxury feeling? The gadgetries, technology.
I think it's not only expected, it's critical.
Okay.
I always use the example of people say I don't like change, particularly when we're talking to various customers and things. But change is inevitable. I always use the example of a cell phone 10 years ago compared to what we have today, and that's what's expected. And everyone has a smartphone and does this, that, and the other. So you have to design the building to counter for all existing perceptions of technology, but very, very key, you have to future-proof the building. Now this thing starts to become quite difficult. So you need to talk to the best minds in the industry about what will come in 10 years. And then we have to put in the backbone and the facility to enable that to happen in 10 years' time. So the smart home concept is almost old hat. You can press a button and close your curtains, or you can do that now on your iPad. Or you can turn the air conditioning on as you drive into the driveway. That sort of thing now in super luxury is expected. Yep, we have to do that, and that's.
So you list out some of them.
In our case, you can VIP your elevator. So if you set up in advance, and you've got a very important person coming, you can make that elevator so that it will only stop at your apartment. It won't pick up anybody else. So if you had a celebrity visiting you or something like something of this nature, all of the smart home things that we talk about, being able to use your iPad to adjust air conditioning, close curtains, this sort of thing. Sort of more hidden things is the security systems and the way in which the building is managed in the event of a problem. One hopes that these problems never occur. In the event of fire, earthquake, all of these things are built into the building in a very, very seamless way that is very unnoticeable to the end user, but they're all there for the instance of that safety. Security in terms of not being able to see it, so that it is there. People are sort of monitored for various things. Your cars are checked for, bombs and chemicals underneath and so on and so forth. All of that is done, and I think it's expected in a super luxury building because of the type of people that live in your building. They face risks that the average person does not.
Sure. Ivan, we talked about the apartments, we talked about the construction. To what extent you feel that the common facilities that you have in a building, like the clubhouse and the swimming pool and all that, creates that impression of a luxury? And, if you can list out 5 items which are critical to the definition of luxury, in any of the projects.
Once you enter any high-end apartment or building, first thing is the feel factor, the planning, aesthetics, and the feel factor. Overall feel factor.
Yeah, but if you can comment on the common facilities.
If I were to say, jot it down. First
John talked about the lifts.
Maximum weightage would go to green space and norms. Second criteria would go to your common, that is your entrance lobby. That is the first thing any visitor, meeting, whether
that would be impressive.
The space and the magnitude, height and other criteria. And then your third aspect would be your common banquet room or a party room or what we say. Where there is a common gathering or something.
Multi-purpose.
Another party. That would be the third criteria. Fourth would be the swimming pool, and fifth would be some kind of an auditorium or some kind of a common. Suppose there is a cricket match and 50 or 100 people can watch a movie or a cricket or something. And then you have micro things like squash court and tennis court. But that depends again on the size of the project and the product and other things. So I would list this.
But would you create these facilities more superior than the rest of the apartments which you give? I mean, is that, Achyut, what do you think?
Yeah, definitely. People are normally all developers are making or giving a lot of efforts and putting very different architects and interior designer to design the clubhouse. That's a special architects being involved in this. I have come across with some builders who are providing some minimum 10-room hotel managed by everything, because there is 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom apartment. Still they don't want to entertain some guests, not all the guests, but some guests inside their apartment. So they will have everything.
The in-laws, you mean?
But they will go out and enjoy this. They maintain their own.
The in-laws are parked separately.
I have not seen you. I mean, I remember your earlier comment also.
So anybody can use it. Owner also sometimes he wants a privacy, he can use it. But but you have to book in advance and all that. This, I know somebody has launched in Pune. I don't remember the exact name of the builder, but he has listed out 99 facilities, and as good as thumb key is also involved in it. Everything. So he has listed. He has really jogging track. Then he was saying that some allopathic or some reflexology part. Reflexology, walking track, everything. But everything he has given a 1 mark, and he is saying we are at 99. We are searching for 100. This was his.
And what is the ticket size?
Pardon?
What is the ticket size?
Ticket size of flat. This is for Brahma City. It's a 6 years old advertisement, but ticket size was around 40 lakhs. That's all in Pune. But see, yes, people are going with that kind of innovation. Everybody wants to give something new. And
even 6 years back, that ticket size. Yeah, that ticket size 6 years back, 40 lakhs is something which cannot be luxury.
Now you can't call it a luxury.
Yeah, you cannot call it luxury.
They are calling it super duper.
But I have a very specific question.
90 out of 99 might be the basic thing which the two of you talked about. I think it might just meet with your definition.
That is what I mean. Finally, the best of apartments, high-end apartments, we are living in a legal scenario that you are governed by MOPA Act. You have a society which functions. You have a chairman who is appointed. The chairman has a different vision. Now we are also looking at sustainability. See, the developer, kitna bhi ho, he is looking at making a sense moving on.
On a lighter note, developers have no choice but to work with a restrictive government and observatory media. Whenever
the developer more or less is till the time he makes sale of all the apartments. Whereas the customer has to look from long-term sustainability of that particular project. Yeah. Once he is giving all high-tech things and other
Correct.
things.
Like Amar said.
Society has to run that. Society can outsource it. But how far they want to spend that kind of money. I have seen now 10 crore offices going when there is this, how many times the glass facade has to be cleaned up and this thumb impression and all. Within 2 years. Everything has gone for a toss. Dori aa gayi udhar. Glass facade, they have given it to normal people. Machine society has something. See now, this is a practical, and you have a 10 crore office in place like New Bombay, and they are fighting action of who will be the chairman, who will be the secretary. Property tax 4 rupees and you have taken 3 rupees, give 1 rupee back. No, these are, and then they are going to a lawyer. Lawyer will say, society law says this. He has to show these accounts, he has to show this, he has to do this. Now, when we are giving this, what kind of environment we are functioning? My point is that, number two, whom we are handing over, whether they are competent, even if they outsource, I have to, as a society, as a family, I have to take one decision. I am going to pay the square feet for lifetime. I am going to outsource to this particular this thing. So all these issues have to be looked in totality.
No, I agree with that. Facility management is an important component of luxury space. Before we wind up, I have a very specific question with Mr. John. How far we are behind global developed luxury destinations? How much behind we are?
Difficult question to answer. It comes back to perception of luxury again. So I think
no, like if say Vienna could not create its own Burj kind of a structure, obviously developers will have their own explanations, restrictive government and all, but still.
No, it's not.
No, that's actually there was planned a very, very tall tower in Mumbai up until a couple of years ago, India Tower, which was going to be over 600 metres tall. You know, there's nothing stopping anyone building a super iconic tower in India. The technology's here, the people to build it are here. It ends up being based on a return. So Burj Khalifa is the centre point of a bigger development, huge development, you know, downtown. So it creates the destination itself. So I think it's just a matter of the developer finding a way to make the iconic building pay.
But Praveen, let me, on behalf of John, I don't think it's comparable. The way they build houses in the United States, they build for only 30 years. John will tell you. I mean, the kind of material that's used is very, very inferior compared to what we use in India. Or if you go to Europe, it's all based on steel, not so much on concrete. So therefore, the comparison becomes very, very different, you know. And therefore, if you are comparing like to like within India, it's different thing. But if you begin to compare internationally with Europe or in the US, completely different products.
It's interesting here, I'm told, you know, I'm very new to India, but I'm told that drywall partitioning internal walls are not sellable.
Yep.
People will not buy a house with drywall, yet internationally it's recognised as a common practice. So you have to cater everything you do to the local market, and that's my point about bringing the experience from overseas into a local environment to create luxury that works for where you are.
It has indeed been a very interesting discussion. I would like to thank all of you on behalf of Track to Realty, and a special thanks to Omkar team for providing us this space for this discussion.
Thank you for
final words would be from Mr. Bakhil.
I think we've had a very stimulating discussion. I think all of us have kind of benefited with the kind of views that have been exchanged. We are a little more clear than what we were when we started on what the luxury really means. Do we have the end definition? I dare say I don't think we have that end definition. But at least we've tried to get there. Having come to this stage, my feeling is that Ravi's pointer to those misleading advertisements is the biggest thing, a learning, which is coming out of this. Do not mislead people. Do not mislead buyers. If you're saying something, deliver what you're saying. If you are delivering something which is really super, try and define it as the super thing, and deliver it. And for the first time, let us all as Indians recognize that we also can create luxury products which are comparable to the best in the world. And I'd like to compliment Omkar for what they've done here. I think it's a super luxury thing. I've seen a lot of luxury apartments all over the world, and I can tell you that this is really, really comparable with the best in the world.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Many thanks.
Can we all come for a photo shoot at any of the...
You want to take this?
Yeah.